what is currently our final Two Generations Together webinar, although I think we've got at least one more in the works, and we'll let you know about that soon. Today we're talking about asset building for families, which is an important component of many two-generation initiatives. You'll be hearing today from a few of our partners and friends, Jennifer Medina from the Corporation for Enterprise Development, Dwayne Yoder, who's the president of Garrett County Community Action Committee, and Marvin Hogan, who's the executive director of Friends of Children of Mississippi. For those of you who, well, I think Mississippi is self-explanatory. Dwayne is with us from Maryland. Today we'll be touching very briefly on what our Two Generations Together initiative has been so far. Then you'll have a chance to hear from each of our presenters in turn, both about asset building and as well at the end, if we have time, about some of the other financial tools and resources that are available. Over the last, about a year now, NHSA's Two Generations Together project has really been focused on doing what we see as curation, as finding some of those best practices and really outstanding models of different kinds of work with families, and trying to help raise up their practices and different approaches to problems or situations that lots of Head Start programs face in their communities. We know that some two-generation work, your programs may be designing yourselves and finding ways to implement within your own organization. Other components of your two-generation work really may be about finding the right partners who are very strong and effective at the areas that you most want to focus on. As you know, if you've seen our website, we have both the case study report, we have the full institute from January that you can watch on YouTube or on the website. We have our whole webinar series to date, and the Two Generation Learning Network, which you're welcome to email me about joining. Before we get into our main content today, we just have a couple questions to help us frame our remarks for you. Our first question asks you, what type of grantee operates your program? And so you should see that now on your screen. We know that depending on what type of agency you're with, it can really affect the resources you have and whether you're partnering within or outside of your own organization. All right. And I will close that and let you all see. We have quite a good mix today. We've got pretty well balanced community action, multi-purpose and single-person nonprofits, and maybe a couple of as well. And the one other question we want to ask, and here you can choose multiple answers if you'd like, are which of these resources are you really trying to think about creating in your community, whether that's for this next program year or sort of in an ongoing focus? Are you thinking about creating or continuing the matched savings account, tax preparation, support for families with public benefits, credit counseling, debt-focused work? I'll take a minute to mark which ones you're interested in, and you can choose multiple. All right, anybody left? Great. Okay, so it looks like maybe you guys do know some about those, about the savings accounts. We've got more folks who are interested in some of the other resources around debt in particular and benefits and credit counseling. So hopefully at the end we'll have some time to touch on some of the resources that are out there for those areas. All right, and so with that, I'm excited to turn this over to Jennifer Medina, who's here from the Corporation for Enterprise Development. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Emily, and thank you all for joining today's webinar. As Emily said, I am a senior manager with CFED. We're a national nonprofit that promotes asset building strategies and policies for low and moderate income families. And I'm excited to be on today's call because over the past 2 years, I've been working with the Office of Head Start and the National Center on Parent, Family, and Community Engagement and a handful of Head Start programs to think about this topic of asset building for families. So I'm going to talk a bit about why asset building matters for families with young children and share some resources to help you think about how to integrate those services into your programs. Next slide, please. So specifically what I'll cover is why savings and assets matter. I'll introduce the term financial capability and describe its impact on financial security. And then I'll share some examples of financial capability services and methods to integrate those services into Head Start programs. And hopefully at the end, after the other presenters have shared, we can go through some specific resources where you can learn more. Next slide, please. So one data point that I find particularly compelling to start the conversation, because it really makes the case for savings and assets, is that almost half of American households, or 44%, which is about 50 million people, are what we call liquid asset poor. And this means that they don't have enough in savings to survive at the poverty line for 3 months. And this group includes many who would consider themselves squarely middle class. So about a quarter of those who earn between $56,000 and more than $91,000 have less than 3 months of savings. So at CFED, we think about the financial insecurity of a household as a national problem, not just one affecting lower income families, but we do recognize that the consequences and some of the obstacles facing lower income families are unique. And so that is a population of particular interest to us. Next slide, please. So I know you are all very familiar with the impact of poverty on children, but I do want to share 2 pieces of research that zero in on the impact of savings and assets as opposed to income on children. So the first is that children of parents with savings are significantly more likely to climb up the income ladder, especially for low-income individuals and families. So a study found that 71% of children born to low-income but high-saving parents move up from the bottom income quartile over a generation, and that's compared to only 50% of children of low-saving, low-income parents. And the second piece of research shows that asset ownership is associated with increased aspirations and higher rates of college attendance and completion. So a study found that children with savings as little as $1 to $499 are 3 times more likely to attend college and 4 times more likely to graduate from college than those that don't have savings in their name. Next slide, please. So how can we help families build financial security? Well, financial security means different things to different people. For some folks, it might mean just making ends meet. For others, it might mean saving for the future or owning a home or contributing to their children's education. But ultimately, we all want to have the capacity to manage our financial resources effectively in order to reach our financial goals. And this capacity to effectively manage financial resources is what we call financial capability. And it includes 3 components: knowledge, skills, and access. The knowledge piece, from my work with Head Start programs, it sounds like Head Start's doing a lot to increase knowledge. So there's a lot around financial literacy activities, whether that's classes or workshops. But what we know about adult learners is that unless they have an opportunity to use that knowledge and apply it to a real-life situation, it's unlikely that they retain that knowledge. And so the skills component really focuses on translating that knowledge into action. So it might not be just knowing why credit matters or how to pull the credit report, but that they have the skills to actually dispute a credit problem that they notice on their credit report. And then the access piece really acknowledges the fact that families not only need access to social service programs, but also to safe and affordable financial products, and that a large swath of the American population is actually excluded from the financial mainstream and therefore is relying on often costly and predatory products like cash checking fees or payday loans or car title loans. Next slide, please. So as I said, financial security looks different depending on the family, but high financial capability, so having the skills, the knowledge, and the access, will ultimately positively affect financial security, and in turn, the low financial capability will negatively affect financial security. Next slide, please. So what are some specific services that help build financial capability? So financial education, as I mentioned, it sounds like a lot of Head Start programs are doing this, whether it's through a series or standalone session. But we're seeing more and more in the field interest and popularity around a concept known as financial coaching. And financial coaching is unique because it's a one-on-one interaction between a client or a parent and a financial coach. And in this situation, the parent is considered the expert, and the coach, as the name would imply, is really meant to be that mentor or coach, help set goals and break those goals down into meaningful steps or manageable steps. But it's really the parent that's the expert about what he or she needs. Financial counseling is similar to financial coaching in that it's a one-on-one interaction, but this is really the counselor is the expert, and they're there to solve an immediate financial issue. Credit counseling refers to helping parents organize or prioritize or pay down their debt, and it helps parents monitor or manage their credit. Credit building, on the other hand, is making sure families have access to products or programs that can help them build or repair their credit. And then we think that, as I was alluding to before, that access to safe and affordable financial products is really key to building financial security and financial capability. So this is making sure folks have access to low-cost, convenient, and transparent services, and they're not relying on those predatory products. I'm sure many of you are familiar with free tax assistance. There's the volunteer income tax assistance sites, as well as tax counseling for the elderly programs. And these two programs are really beneficial for lower income families because they not only help these families avoid the costly fees associated with tax preparation, but the volunteers that are IRS certified to prepare taxes are trained to assess parents and families on their eligibility for tax credits like the Earned Income Tax Credit or the Child and Dependent Care Tax Credit. Access to federal and state benefits, while it may be our ultimate goal to get families off of public assistance, we really believe that in the interim, if we want them to be able to build that financial cushion and start to save, that they need to be taking advantage of all the credits, or pardon me, all the benefits for which they're eligible so that they can maximize the income that they are earning as savings. And then under incentivized savings programs, there's two types of programs. It sounds like many of you are familiar with the individual development accounts, which is where every dollar individual saves, he or she is matched anywhere from $1. In some cases, they're matched up to $8. And then they can use that match in their savings to buy a home or start a business or go back to school. There's also a number of different savings programs emerging across the country that are focused on children's savings, so helping families save for their children's education. And asset ownership programs is really a big bucket to reference programs and services that help families build and maintain their assets. So this could be retirement savings or access to training to start a small business or buy a home or purchase a vehicle or pursue some type of post-secondary education. So next slide, please. So what I want to emphasize is that Head Start programs do not necessarily need to offer these services in-house for families to benefit. And realistically, as I've learned more and more about Head Start, I recognize that you have a lot of demands on your time, a lot of standards and requirements. So I do want to emphasize that community-based organizations across the country are connecting families to these financial capability services using one of three methods. So one is through referrals. So this is obviously finding organizations that provide these services that your families need and setting up a process for referring families to those services. We have seen good referrals and not so great referrals. We really think when there's a feedback loop between the organization referring and the referral receiving organization, those relationships are much more effective, both for the two organizations as well as for the parent. Partnerships refers to developing relationships with other organizations to deliver the financial capability services, either in one convenient location or co-branding the service between the two organizations. And then we've seen cases where organizations ultimately assess their internal capacity and decide that the service is best provided in-house, so they build their internal capacity to embed it into their existing programs. Next slide, please. So what I want to emphasize is that regardless of the method a program chooses, it's really critical that the financial capability service is integrated into a service that the family is already using or into an activity in which the family already participates. So research has found that clients who received multiple integrated services were 3 to 4 times more likely to achieve a major positive economic outcome. So like job attainment or increased income or increased savings. And this was 4 times more likely than those clients who only received one service. Next slide, please. So here are some examples of financial capability integration in Head Start. It might include building financial capability goals into existing family partnership agreements and tracking that through Child Plus, for example. I know of groups that are partnering with local universities to host workshops on financial topics of interest, but they're really trying to survey the families and get a sense of what they want to be learning, as opposed to just bringing in a standard curriculum and implementing that curriculum. There's one group in California that's reserving time and space for informal meetups between parents where they can share community resources and budgeting tips with each other. Other examples of integration might include training your family service workers to pool a parent's credit report during a meeting, or referring a parent who wants to improve his or her credit to a local credit counseling agency. Or it could be simply connecting parents to the free tax preparation sites to avoid costly tax preparation fees and access to tax credits for which they're eligible. There was one group also in California, I believe, that gave families like a voucher ticket to take, even though the VITA site is free, they found that when they gave this voucher that said like free tax preparation and they had the person take it to the tax site, they were more likely to go and use that service. Next slide. So I want to make you aware of one resource. This is a recently published resource that can help Head Start programs develop and implement a plan for integrating some of these services into their programming. The Administration for Children and Families developed a planning guide that walks organizations through the strategic planning process to determine which services are most applicable to meet the needs and opportunities of their families, and helps the programs think through whether to provide that service in-house or through partnerships and referrals, and then walks them through a set of tools to kind of develop a plan that will be implemented for integration. So on the next slide, you can see the 13 tools that are included in this interactive guide that's available online. The first section is really about honing in on how your clients or families are getting by now. So understanding what their current financial situation looks like, understanding where they want to be, and then identifying the services that bridge that gap from where they are now to where they want to be. Section 2 is really focused on building the team, so it helps you work through a series of questions to assess internal capacity, also work through a set of tools to identify community service providers and assess those community service providers, and ultimately decide how are you going to deliver the service in-house or through referrals or partnerships. And then Section 3 really helps, Tool 8 is focused on mapping out the current interactions with parents and figuring out what are the touch points when these services will be most relevant and most likely see uptake by families, and then putting into writing a plan for either referrals, partnerships, or doing it yourself. Next slide, please. The other set of resources I want to make you aware of are 2 practice briefs that we've developed in partnership with the Administration for Children and Families as part of the Family Wellbeing and Financial Security Resource Series. And the first is on strategies for increasing parent participation in financial education activities. And what we were hearing was that, again, a lot of Head Start programs were offering financial education workshops, et cetera, but parents just weren't showing up. And so we brainstormed with a set of Head Start programs, strategies that they could use to increase parent participation in financial education activities. And I think really what ultimately came out, the big takeaway was that, again, as adult learners, the material has to be relevant and they have to see applicable use. So many of the programs we worked with ended up, instead of doing like a series of workshops, it was more of these targeted topic-specific sessions that were, the topics were generated by parent interest. And then the second practice brief is called Family Service Workers and Financial Empowerment, Steps and Resources. And this walks through ideas for assessing staff training needs to help build their capacity to work with parents on financial topics. It presents a number of different resources to train staff on financial topics and community resources, as well as tools and resources that they can use in conversations with their parents. And then an introduction to some resources on financial coaching if an organization opts to train staff in the financial coaching model. So I'm going to stop there. The next slide I think just has my contact information, and I'm I'm more than happy to answer any questions either later on this call or one-on-one via email. But I will turn it back to you, Emily.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. We do have a question that asks, can we have the slides? And yes, I can share them later if you email me. Great. So next, we are excited to welcome Dwayne Yoder and Lisa on his team, who's there with him from Garrett County. Dwayne?
Okay. Well, thank you, Emily. And you are hearing me, right? The audio is working? Okay, thank you. Well, I'm Dwayne Yoder, as Emily indicated, and I'm joined here with Lisa Swift, who is our Director of Asset Building here at the Garrett County Community Action, and she will be participating in certain portions of the presentation that we're going to go through. You know, we've been working for 3 or 4 years now pretty intensely on the two-generation initiative here at Garrett County Community Action, and so this hearing Jennifer describe the process was really, I thought, right on target. I also want to indicate you have our contact information on this particular slide, and anyone who has any interest is welcome to follow up with questions or direct one-on-one, if either via telephone or email, if you want to do that. Next slide. Just to kind of go over what we hope to do. You know, I mean, what you're going to hear one model, one example of trying to implement or translate a lot of the concepts that Jennifer was describing into a local action plan. It's only one. There are many models, and you know, we were just lucky enough that Emily grabbed us somewhere along the line to do this. But I just want to say that there are many different ways of doing this, but you'll see what, you know, how we went about it, and that's, I guess, the main point of what we want to make sure that you understand. Next slide. This gives you a kind of a concept. The asset building activity or component of a two-generation initiative has to be seen in context of all the other elements. And as you can see here, there are asset building components that involve post-secondary education, employment pathways, the financial capability, financial education, and even in our world, at least, we consider social capital as a piece, as an asset that we try to build and nurture. But the other thing then that I'd just like to point out is that it's, in our experience, it was critically important that we develop high-quality, good integrating mechanisms. And that involves organizational structure, it involves information technology, it involves staff job descriptions. Those are all elements that integrate these different components and are, I think, central to, you know, to the outcomes that we want to achieve. But today we're going to focus primarily on the asset building component of our two-generation work. Next slide. So I'm not sure where this slide came from, but you could go to the next slide. There we go. Thank you, Emily. What does it really look like in Garrett County, Maryland? And I should maybe just say that this is I'm going to go give an overview here, and then let Lisa talk a little bit more about the details of some of the asset building services. And I already talked about some of the importance of the integration mechanisms, but I think that the end result, we have to always keep in mind what the end result is here. And we are talking about children doing well in school and families thriving economically. And what we're really measuring in a two-generation initiative is the impact of the integration. We're not talking about the impact or even the outcomes of these services, but the impact of the integration. So that's one of the things to keep in mind as we go through this. In terms of Garrett County Community Action, I mean, the elements of our asset building involve financial education and coaching, and we distinguish actually between the education and coaching and the counseling, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later. Housing could involve anything from energy production and conservation to home ownership to the value of your home. And so we have strategies that relate to that. I think everyone understands the value of savings and retirement plans. Credit, in our case, that involves things like foreclosure prevention as well. We have an activity that we call Wheels to Work, which is about making sure people have access to capital to get transportation for work purposes. And then social capital, which is really how our Head Start families relate to, friends, family, churches, schools, in the community. The other and those are all the elements that I went through are essentially components of what we do directly internally as an organization. We have a partnership with our community college that focuses on job readiness and career coaching, and we also looks at college certifications for various trades and degrees, and that's become something that we are just currently really building on. Next page. This is a picture of our 2G work, and I talked a little bit about the college career ladder involvement. We have the early childhood parent engagement. These are all activities, important activities in our 2G work. But the elements that I guess the key point here in this slide is that we've become the hub and the coordinator for a lot of this work, but we depend a lot on other partners to help us move this forward, and they've become very meaningful, and we've made them an integral part of our 2-generation initiative. Next page. So in Garrett County, Maryland, Head Start, the families that are in our 2G initiative are all our Head Start and early Head Start families. Now, a lot of all the families coming in go through a lot of the same process, but we have focused, as it relates to at least we are part of a 4-year evaluation that the Casey Foundation is doing on the outcomes and results of this. And so this is the 300 children that are enrolled in Head Start and early Head Start. And we've developed, really a close relationship with the Casey Foundation, the Aspen Institute, and then several different federal agencies, as well as MOUs with our partner agencies. Next page. As a start point, each family coming into our 2G work develops a pathway plan, an automated action plan. We call it a pathway plan. In some Head Start programs, the family partnership agreement. And based on an assessment that those families do from a tool that we use, a crisis prescribed scale across 15 domains, they develop a pathway plan, and that is all tracked and followed and measured through an automated organization-wide database. Next page. So when we started with the 2G work, we started with a strategic plan, and we developed specifically a department that was called asset building, and that is Swift's unit. But in that, we took programs. Yes.
Your line is getting very garbled. Did you move away from the phone or anything?
Is it any better now?
It still sounds kind of shaky. Jennifer, are you guys hearing that too?
Yes, this is Jennifer. I was hearing a bit of shakiness.
Okay. Well, I could try to dial back in. It's voice over internet probably is the problem.
Okay, you're clear enough to understand right now, so I guess keep going.
Okay, well, just stop me, and I'll jump over some of this stuff. But the asset building department is essentially all the programs that we have and services that we have that focus on asset building. So it would be home ownership, home improvement, financial education, IDAs, energy conservation, our VITA, our tax assistance program. And these are people primarily what we call content specialists. So these are loan underwriters, energy auditors, financial counselors, as opposed to our services coordination, which is about stabilizing families, and those are coordinators who help families start their pathway plans but are not the specialists in the asset building arena. We also have an early childhood development department and some other departments like transportation and community economic development that are a part. Next page. This is just an organization chart. You can go to the next slide. So I'm going to let Lisa talk a little bit about the asset building strategies that we are now have implemented and are now operating.
Okay, hello everyone. We do have financial education and coaching as our cornerstone for the 2G project. We developed a curriculum called Stepping Stones. Our clients move through the financial education curriculum using this system. It enables our coordinators to assess where the client is in terms of financial education skills, and then allows the coordinator to assign the client to the proper stepping stone where they receive financial coaching or education according to their needs. Another thing we need to note here is that all of our coordinators and many of our content specialists have been trained in the coaching technique, and they receive periodic training, refresher training, and also they are monitored occasionally by their supervisors to make sure that they're employing the coaching technique with their clients. Going down the list here of asset building strategies, of course, as Dwayne mentioned, we started our own VITA site this year, volunteer income tax assistance site, where we can not only help people by making sure they get all the credits that they're eligible for, such as the EITC, but that we can also work with them to make their credits and their refunds go farther and work for them to make more money and build assets. We have the home ownership and repair and rehab program. We also have a weatherization program, and the weatherization home energy auditor also works with our clients to educate them in energy conservation techniques, keeping their thermostats low in the winter, making sure that everything's unplugged that's not being used, that sort of thing. We also offer an IDA or matched savings account program. I believe that Jennifer mentioned that earlier. And then I'll turn this back over to Dwayne for the career advancement part.
One of the things that we discovered when we were planning on all this, and we actually ran like a one-year pilot to just test how this was going to work, is that there was a significant gap in our community with respect to job readiness, career coaching, and college career ladder. So we asked the community college to become a part of this partnership, and they agreed enthusiastically and are very much in the process of implementing and beginning the operation of a job readiness and career coaching program that looks at career ladders. This includes the classic kinds of things of job readiness activities, hiring a coach. We actually are jointly funding a position at the college as a career coach. But this was something where we had to go outside of our organization for the capacity and I think also the mission, and the college provided that and they're really doing a nice job. We're part of we're in Central Appalachia, so job readiness and employment and job availability jobs are issues. So we do a lot of work in community development, community economic development that's tied into this, but that's another story really, and we'll go there some other time. Next slide. I think we skipped some, so go to the next slide. That's where I was. Next slide. So one of the things that I guess that we also discovered, even with the asset building, is that we had to wrap around a lot of other services. Things that it was really important to have some flexible resources that could fill gaps, and could be anything to providing child care for parents who are attending college, to helping someone get the right kind of uniform for a job. But that was an important part of our strategy. Next slide. I'll wrap this up by saying that, two-generation work, the asset building summary here with our two-generation work has to be viewed in context. And in our case, that context was a strategic plan that focused on integrating services and economic security outcomes. We simply decided, because we were doing that already, that we would tie together and integrate our early childhood development and education strategies with that. But it did mean that we went through and we spent almost 5 years going through organizational changes, implementing data and information technology, and rearranging all our staff positions. It's a long, long process, but it was critical to what we were able to do with the 2G work and obviously the asset development that comes from that. But in the long term, and the outcomes are, we believe it's beginning to show in the evidence is a reduction in poverty and a reduction in toxic stress for the children and the families. And we're seeing families beginning to build a savings habit, accumulating and maintaining assets that increase in value. So I end up with that, and give it back to you, Emily.
Wonderful. Thanks so much to both of you. So excited to have you with us. And next got distracted by slides. We're glad to welcome from Friends of Children of Mississippi, Dr. Marvin Hogan.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, all the participants, for being here today. I just wanted to kind of dovetail on some aspects of what has already been said. But when we continue our quest to move beyond compliance of basic standards and to a level of excellence, fulfilling a segment of our mission statement, we came to a conclusion that if we evaluated our service delivery component, we found ourselves in the balance wanting. So as a result of that, we started some 6 years ago to start a program we call 2. And this project has brought us a tremendous amount of success in terms of 700 participants, 50 participants have been involved, and 90% have secured employment, started their business. 187 parents of children served in the Head Start program, and as a result of that, the incomes of those persons have skyrocketed to last year $33,000, and this past year we've been assessing, we have some that'll be at about 47,000. We found that our program, in trying to match up with other programs in the state and surrounding areas, that we wanted to be different. We wanted to be so unique that we would not just do the basic things. Now, I'm going to tell everyone that's been involved with Head Start, that is a big task, because you have to convince the people that's working that they can do something different. But we felt like it was necessary to do that because the coming of pre-K in this state and also other daycare centers were expanding in that area. As a result of that, we involved ourselves in this 2-generation concept. As I've said, I probably apologize for repeating, but we also found out that we came up with a slogan that we want to break the cycle of poverty. And that was a big challenge to get the people to really feel that it could be accomplished, because we found out that just serving children and carrying on all of the standards that the government has placed before us was not going to be significant, because many of the programs were so fragmented and some of the challenges and choices that were being made was disconnected. And we said, if a child is in a well-defined Head Start program or early childhood development program and the parents are at home doing nothing, then that's that big connect. So we took a survey and made an assessment of all of the returning families that's going to be with us the next year. And we found out that 48% of those families were in extreme poverty, and families had to had an average income of some $12,500, and families were annual income was some of them were less than 12. But as a result of that, we got involved in this concept. Next slide that you see right here, and the next one, that's what I just stated, but the next one. We had a number of individuals participating in the program, and that's just 3 of the individuals that have done well. One of the young ladies, the one at the top, has started her own business, and last year she did so well. She made $43,000 compared to the previous year of some 8 only, but she's doing well in her business. We started this training program in those areas that has already been described in terms of phlebotomy, nurse assistant, computer science, child development, brick mason, service technician, and carpentry. And we've been able to place people in employment. And right now we have 43 persons that have gone back to school, that is, back to college, because we made partnerships with community colleges as well as major college universities within the area. This was primarily in the Mississippi Delta when it first got started.
Dr. Hogan, did we lose you? Hello? Can you all hear me?
Emily, I can.
All
I
right.
can hear you, Emily.
Not sure if we still got.
If you'd like, Emily, I'm happy to talk about resources, and then if he comes back on, we can go back to him. Or I don't know if any questions have come in.
Sure. It looks like he may need to call in again. Yeah. All right, let me send a quick message to make sure that he realizes he's not on with us. Where did you want me to jump to your next? Here.
Sure. So, so there's a couple like specific resources for each of the financial capability services that I mentioned earlier that I think could be helpful to you all. All these are summarized in an appendix of the integration planning guide that I referenced. I'm sorry, Emily, you're probably typing to Marvin, but if you could advance to the next slide. So one resource that I think is particularly interesting for Head Start, the Kansas Head Start Association created a curricula crosswalk that assesses 5 financial education curricula for parents and 6 curricula for children and young adults. And the crosswalk identifies the number of modules in each of the curricula, the cost of the program, the cost of the participant. It goes through the training requirements and whether technical assistance is available and what topics are covered, as well as an assessment of the ease of use and whether there's an online component and a family component. So that's one resource that I think maybe, there's certainly other curricula out there and through partnerships with banks and financial institutions. And we heard from, Garrett County Community Action that they designed a curricula specifically, they tailored one and created their own. So those are always options, but this is one starting point. On the next slide, these are some resources. There's several organizations that offer training to staff to become financial coaches, and a full list is available on the University of Wisconsin Extension's website, which is on this slide. But there are also online coaching tools. So My Budget Coach is a free resource that matches a professionally trained budget coach with a member, and the match coach and the member meet for 12 monthly sessions, with each session covering budgeting techniques and financial management and goal attainment strategies. And Change Machine is another resource that provides tools for coaches to use, including tip sheets and interactive tools that help support conversations with families and helps measure their progress along the way. I'm curious, Dwayne, who trained your staff in the financial coaching model?
We had a group called Maryland Cash
Yeah.
come in and do our coaching. They did a coaching for the coordinators, and they also did a train the trainer so that we could build that capacity in-house to train people that were, that come in new. Great.
So yeah, I'll talk at the end if there's time about Maryland Cash is an organization and is a member of a national network of asset building providers, and that's a great resource to find the local or state leader in your state and see what resources they have available.
Great. Can I just ask, Dr. Hogan, are you on again? All right. Sorry. Continue, Jennifer.
No, that's okay. Please interrupt me as soon as he's back on, because I'm sure everyone wants to hear from him. So on the next slide, I have some information about financial counseling resources. So the Association for Financial Counseling, Planning, and Education. This is a nonprofit international professional membership organization that focuses on providing personal financial management education, training, and certification to financial counselors and educators and coaches. So if you're trying to find a financial counselor and you're not sure if they're accredited or a good match, this is the association that trains professionals to guide clients through the financial education process, and they have a online database. The next slide shows some credit counseling resources. So similar to the AFCPE, the National Foundation for Credit Counseling is the largest nonprofit financial counseling organization. It has a member network of community-based locations in all 50 states and Puerto Rico, and every National Foundation for Credit Counseling member agency is accredited by the council on accreditation to ensure certain standards are maintained as a nonprofit financial counseling agency. And they have also have a lookup where you can find an agency in your area that might be able to partner with you to provide credit counseling. On the next slide, there's this resource for credit building. So Asset Platform is a website that maintains a search tool that allows you to search for credit builder products. It also allows you to search for financial institutions that may be providing alternative payday loans and microloans. You have to register to use assetplatform.org, but it's free to register, and then you can do a search to find, like I said, financial institutions or community-based organizations that are providing credit builder loans. Next slide, please. So we talked about the importance of access to safe and affordable financial services and products. Bank loan programs are locally led coalitions that are trying to increase that access to safe and affordable financial products and services. And although bank loan programs only exist in certain localities, it can be a great starting point. If you go to joinbankloan.org, you can search and find a program locator and find financial institutions that might be offering, for example, second chance accounts or safer, more affordable products. Next slide. I talked a little bit about the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, and VITA sites are located across the country. These sites are, as I mentioned, IRS certified volunteers that are preparing the taxes for individuals who have a gross annual income less than about $53,000, and the IRS maintains an online program locator that is shown on this slide. Next slide. In terms of access to state and federal benefits, there's a couple of different resources. Benefits.gov is the official benefits website of the U.S. government to screen clients for benefits. But Benefit Bank is another online service that was developed for community-based and social service agencies by a group called Solutions for Progress. And the Benefit Bank has only works with particular states. So it has sites in Florida, Indiana, Kansas, Mississippi, Ohio, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Texas. And then finally, Benefits Checkup is a free service of the National Council on Aging. Next slide. So we've heard from both groups in Maryland and in Mississippi about IDAs, which are a form of incentivized savings programs. The Assets for Independence program is a federal grant program that provides funding to administer individual development account program. and they maintain a directory of all the federal grantees that are administering these programs. And then my organization, CFED, we also maintain a directory of states that offer children's savings programs. Next slide. And then finally, for asset ownership programs, this is there can be a variety of groups that are offering some type of asset ownership program, but you can certainly start by looking for HUD-approved housing counseling agencies if you are looking to support your families on housing issues. This could be like foreclosure counseling or down payment assistance and housing home ownership counseling. And then small business, the Small Business Administration also has district offices for entrepreneurs that might be looking to develop a business plan or seeking other types of support.
And Dr. Hogan on again? Okay. Continue.
Thanks for checking. And then finally on the next slide, if you're unsure about where to go for resources, you can always reach out to a local Assets and Opportunity Network leader. So the Assets and Opportunity Network is a network of practitioners and advocates and policymakers and researchers and funders that are all focused on asset building strategies and policies. And there are over 1,800 general members in the network. CFED, my organization, serves as the backbone organization for the network, but we're led by an 11-person network steering committee, and there's 86 lead state and local leaders who are administering asset building programs or advocating for asset building policies in states and local areas. So this map shows anywhere there's a star, there's a state lead, anywhere there's a dot, there's a local lead. And you can go to our network website and find the name and contact information of someone in your community that might be able to refer you to, depending on what service you're looking for, or if you're looking for a particular organization to partner with, they can help make that connection. Next slide. And then you all are welcome to join the Assets and Opportunity Network as general members. It's completely free. It means you get access to monthly updates about effective practices in the asset building field, information about opportunities to engage in advocacy to help families build financial security, as well as information about webinars and events. So I think those were all the resources I had. I hope Marvin's able to join again to finish up, or we can take
Well, thank you. And to the folks who are about to put in their questions and say, can we have all of those links? Yes, you can email me for slides. Dr. Hogan, are you on with us again?
I finally got back.
Okay, great.
That's all right. Finally got back.
Good.
You hear me?
Yes.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think we were here.
Yep. Go on with the questions, Emily, so you won't be delayed.
All right. Well, no, we've got a couple minutes. Are there other comments you want to share about how you designed your IDA program, or takeaways you think people should be sure to have?
We designed it by getting persons to local banks and one bank and a financial institution to support us, and we now are proud to say that we have some 47 persons that are participating in IDA now. One of the unique features that we inserted in this, that once a person gets through with the training program, either go in business for themselves or go back to school, we stay with that individual for 2 years. And we found out that has been a unique concept, to be with that individual, not to try to track them or do anything, but to be there to provide assistance and guidance, because when a person gets into their realm of breaking that cycle of poverty, they always, from my experience, they're going to need some assistance somewhere down the line, and we try to be there to assist them. As I started saying, this gentleman here had saved a maximum amount of dollars, and when he went into the bank to withdraw his IDA funds, the bank made another contribution of $1,500 to him.
Wonderful.
And he started crying.
All right.
All I can say to all, I applaud the efforts that's been made. We are now getting ready in June to expand this program to 13 other counties that we operate in the state of Mississippi. We're trying to prove to persons in our state, as you see in the end here, that we have some 800 prospective participants on the waiting list. But we're trying to show people that our agency that came about and now 48 years old in the celebration of Head Start for 50 years. We've served 139,000 children, but we have some 750 families that we have assisted to move themselves out of poverty into a level of moving towards self-sufficiency. They're not there yet, but they are on their way, and they are making tremendous progress, and we are very proud of that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And sorry for the technical difficulties to everyone.
No problem. That's what technology is all about.
All right. We did have Jennifer touch on some of the other resources that are out there while we were waiting for you to get hooked up again. So just a word to everyone that we do have all of our webinars to date available on our website. And we also welcome you to be in touch with us in various ways, but particularly over our Two Generations listserv. And of course, we are on Twitter, although hopefully most of you are doing better things with your time. And so finally, just a few minutes for any questions. And if you've got anything that strikes you, I would love to hear. And a question for Dr. Hogan, how did you get parents to participate? What were the incentives?
We have what is called a compassionate partnership that we get them to sign, explaining to them what we will do for them and what they must do for themselves. We do not believe in the word help. We took that out of our usage years ago. So we don't help anyone. We assist people. And in assist, we define what that assist means. That means that they have to make some strides for themselves.
Thank you. All right, if you have any other questions, go ahead now and type them in the question box. While we wait to see if anyone else has a question, Dwayne and Marvin and Jennifer, do you all have any questions for each other or any other comments you'd like to share?
I'm here. I'm really waiting for anyone from the audience.
This is Lisa. I have a question for Dr. Hogan. We also have an IDA program. I was wondering, how do you have the in-house capacity to do business plans for people who are using their IDA money to start a small business?
We in the past we were, but not today, but we collaborate with other partners in the local community, and that has expanded our visibility by working with other organizations, SBA and other organizations in the community.
Okay.
We survey the area to find out what agencies that are in the area, and we go to a 50-mile radius of the counties that we are in, and that has built a very good working relationship with other entities in the community that's now working with us rather than working somewhat separate. There's been a problem in our community of organizations coming about, but they all come with so much fragmentation. It just does not allow for partnership.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. And so we have one last comment from the audience who says, thank you very much. This has been very helpful. Looking forward to sharing the information and slides to all our family advocates. All right. Looks like that's our last bit of audience feedback. Does anyone on the line want to share any last comments? All right. Well, thank you all so much for being with us and sharing your expertise today. And we look forward to hearing from all of you on the line and the audience about what you're developing and planning in your communities. Have a great day.
It just finished.